All right, as promised, to round out the show, it's Ben Jones from CricViz to complete our Whamageddon IPL adventure. He's coming to us, I can also add, from his childhood bedroom, which doesn't usually augur well when people are listening or watching the final word from their bedrooms. It tends to result in us getting abused. But I feel like today will work a little bit better than that. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Adam. I feel like I spend a lot of my time criticizing people on Twitter for presumably tweeting their nonsense from their parents' bedroom. But
Mm.
yeah, I come live from it, which as I just showed you before we started recording, I've got a premature birthday present from various people that is a kind of stick cricket version of the I think 1989 Cricket World Cup, which has got Mike Atherton on the front cover, bowling, batting, and just generally looking like he's about to enter his model area. It's a bit blue steel,
Right.
so
Right.
it's
Well,
good
I mean,
energy.
there's a bit going on there, given that there wasn't an '89 World Cup. I can see the cover there; they're wearing white, so
Exactly, yeah.
it must be referencing '87, which Atherton most certainly didn't play in. So I don't know how we thread the needle on all of that, but
Oh,
I'm glad you've got it
I'm going to
there.
say that this is, and not to put too fine a dot on it, given I am in my childhood bedroom, deeply illegitimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the it's very LimeWire if that made its way across the pond to you guys
Oh, it
down
did.
under.
I like the idea of
It's
the
very
illegitimate cricket card and stick game, as opposed to other things. Well,
Yeah,
there
it's
you
like
go.
it's the Pro Evo. It's the Pro Evo version where yeah, I'm trying to think. It's Bin Stacks and J Rot. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
middle order for England.
We have a job to do here. It's for you to. I mean, I know even less than I ordinarily do about the Indian Premier League this week, having been away. And you've got some work to do. Now, the format we're using, tried and true, six balls on. To tell people, as we said, it's Whamageddon theme, which means that the whole idea is that I've not watched a ball and I'm not seeking to see a ball during this tournament, and instead you are updating me and at the same time updating the audience who also might not have paid a huge amount of attention, or maybe they've dipped in and out. But you're the expert, you're the analyst, you're the one that has to watch it for work, and you can give us the cheap and cheerful version of IPL 2025. So, ball one, Ben, hit us with it.
Ball one. It's Man United 1999. RCB have done the treble. It's not
Oh,
the one you're thinking of. It's not the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Premier League, or the Champions League thrown in there for good measure. They have won in their first four games this season at the Wankhede. They've beaten MI. They have beaten CSK at Chapauk, and they have beaten Kolkata Knight Riders at Eden Gardens.
wow.
Now, those are three of the most impregnable, home advantage venues in the tournament's history. These are steeped in history. We all know
Mm, mm.
what comes when you travel to these venues. I'm not sure. I'm sure you've been to various ones of them for work. I've never had the pleasure of actually watching an IPL game at any of them, but I've done World Cup games there, and they are magnificent places. And RCB have won at all three in about a week and a half. Only
Wow.
one team in the history of the IPL has done that as well as RCB this year, and that was Kings 11 Punjab. I know it was on the tip of your tongue in 2012. So it's really, really rare that a team is managing to challenge the pace and lateral movement off the surface of the Wankhede, beating Mumbai Indians, the slow and low beating CSK at the Chapauk, and then the generally also slow and low but increasingly high scoring KKR at Eden Gardens. This is a real challenge and a real test of RCB's all-round mettle, and they have passed it emphatically. And they're 3 wins from 4 games, and
Oh,
all aboard. There's more room on the RCB train, I promise you.
I'm happy to be there. I quite like Bangalore. Can you tell me, is Virat Kohli having a? I know he got red ink in the first game. You told us about a fortnight ago. Is he doing his thing? Is he making runs in these wins?
He is. I think the other night he made a 29 ball 100 against Mumbai Indians. Oh, sorry, 29 ball 50. It's quite a crucial difference. But I think it was his fastest 50 batting first in the IPL, which obviously is a better measure of this guy, of a guy's intent,
Mm.
regardless of the conditions. So he's clearly, in the last 18 months, everyone's been chattering on about it. Um, Putting his foot down early on, far more regularly. He's happy to throw his wicket away if the conditions and the situation require it, and he's basically leading from the front, albeit not with a captain's armband. That goes with Rajat Patidar, who also played an absolute gem of a knock against Mumbai. They have just got this lovely balance of batters who are primarily focused on hitting pace because you play at the Chinnaswamy, that's what you need. But they have got a captain who is according to the data, the best spin hitter in the history of the IPL. It's a very
Right.
un-RCB thing. We're throwing back to the old Severance situation. They are not what they used to be. And I'm going to bring him up because I know that you'll want an update from the man. Josh Hazlewood. He has been leading the line for RCB with the ball, and he has been absolutely magnificent. He bowled a
Uh,
spell against Mumbai, bowled two for spit very early on, and bowled to Surya Kumar Yadav in the power play, and Sky had absolutely no idea what was going on. He was moving the ball off the surface. He was quick. He bowled a couple of bouncers that were slipped in there that properly went past the eye line. It was as accurate as power play bowling as I've seen, and he is, to all intents and purposes, I think the best power play bowler in the world for, well, certainly now, but probably approaching for 4 years now. He's taken 48 power play wickets since the start of 2021, when he basically starts taking T20 cricket seriously. And
to
he's
think that
averaging 20. Sorry, go on, boss.
Oh, well, to think that Hazlewood was seen as surplus to requirements as a white ball bowler for about 3 or 4 years there, leading into the pandemic year when he got picked up by CSK at the time. And yeah, I guess the rest is history for him in his career, especially given that he's returning from injury via the IPL. So there's a degree of risk loaded into this for Hazlewood, remembering that if he were to pull up lame here in India, he'd miss the World Test Championship final, which has traditionally been the format of the game where he's excelled, to the extent to which he can.
100%. And obviously, we don't want to get into the conversation around Boland versus Hazlewood for the final. That's its own conversation. But just in terms of T20, like no one else is averaging what he's averaging in the power play
Yeah.
in T20 cricket. He has taken that skill set that he perfected over 6-7 years of being one of the best red ball bowlers in the world, and he has found the way to make it work. And what was quite clever from RCB as well is that he's been brilliant in that early phase, but they didn't even give him the new ball this time because they wanted to give Yash Dayal, who's the local left armer, they wanted to give him the new ball to go at Rohit Sharma, who's obviously got a pronounced weakness against left
Yeah.
arm seam. Dayal comes in, gets him out, moves on. They give the ball back to Hazlewood. He gets Ryan Rickleton, and RCB are up and about, and they're defending T20. It's a very very good time to be an RCB fan.
So RCB are in third spot with 3 wins and 1 loss. That's ball one. What's ball two, Ben?
Ball two, we're going back a few days to MI again versus Lucknow Super Giants. Mumbai are chasing. They're chasing 204. Lucknow have put a decent score on the board. And Tilak Varma is the impact player, so the guy that's come in. He's in at number 5. They're not doing too well. They're kind of 30-40% on win list. They're not necessarily in control of the chase, but he shares a lovely partnership with Surya Kumar Yadav, who very much takes a dominant role. Tilak's getting off strike. He's a wonderful player. We all know his ability, but he manages to just hand it over to one of the best in the world. Then Sky gets out, and it's handed over to Tilak. You're the set guy. You're the one that's going to take us home. And he just can't get going. He cannot accelerate. He is going at a run of ball. He is swinging from the hip. He is looking. He's going straight. He's going down the ground. He's going square. He's trying everything he possibly can. And then with 24 needed from the final 7 balls, RCB pull him. They retire him out, and they replace him with Mitchell Santner,
Wow.
a bowling all rounder who is in by no means in form. They lose the game. That's it. They are gone. So they have hammered the confidence of their star young batter,
Mm.
and they've also lost the game. And it's a perfect example, I think, with those two particular rule changes, the impact player and the retiring out, of what modern T20 gives you opportunities. It gives you the opportunity to innovate and to be creative. But if you get it wrong, you can look pretty damn stupid
Yeah.
because you are essentially saying with 24 needed from 7 balls, you think that a new coming bowling all rounder has got a better chance than your star retained gun middle order batter. And Mumbai, it kind of points to a slight malaise. Their 1 win from 5 games, and I thought that was the kind of thing that I feel like retiring out's a very colo coded.
Yeah, it seems too smart by half on this occasion. I know Sartner hit a 6 to win an IPL game from the final ball many years ago, but I mean, balance of probability, right? So, yeah, Mumbai in 8th spot out of 10, 1 win and 4 losses. What's ball three, Ben?
Ball three, Nicholas Pooran might have completed T20 batting.
Hmm.
So we're recording this on Tuesday. He's just hit 87 red off 36 balls against KKR. He's got 288 runs at a strike rate of over 200 in this
Wow.
competition. He is absolutely flying. 24 sixes in his 5 games. He's got the purple cap. No one has hit his ratio of like sixes to game It is, I think it's 4.8. The last time, well, no one's done it, no one's bettered that, but the last time anyone even got close, frankly, was Chris Gale about 12, 13 years ago. Like, no one is
Right.
hitting these heights. In terms of like the data side of things, he's striking at over in recent years. He's striking over 200 at the death against every line, every length, apart from Yorkers, where he's hitting them at 166. There is no way to stop this man. He is perfect. He is AB de Villiers, but without the test record. He is at the peak of his powers, and I still struggle to feel anything when he bats. I find him weirdly inert as a batter, as much as I admire him on a technical level. But there's a T20 World Cup in India next year. The Windies are fifth in the rankings. He is going to be at the core of that batting lineup, and he has got another go. It's not a home World Cup like last year, but he's got a chance to etch his name into history. And at the moment, he looks almost destined to do so.
So that's for luck now. They're 2-2 playing at the moment in sixth spot. What are we up to? Ball four.
Ball four. This is more of a general trends thing, which is that there's been a lot of discussion about the BCCI imposing, restrictions on what teams can do with their home venue, and we've actually seen it really affect home results. We've only seen 42% home wins in the tournament so far, which is the second lowest in any IPL season, and this thing's been going for nearly 20 years now, if you can believe it. And it just speaks to a general homogeneity of conditions. We're not seeing this variety of slow and low, as much as I referenced it earlier. That's more of a historical thing. And it's probably no coincidence that RCB are starting to do these, scale these heights more regularly now. Eden Gardens used to be the home of all the spinners and Sun on the Rhine not being able to be hit off the square. It's the highest scoring venue in the world for the last 2 years. We've seen this general raising in run scoring, this general homogeneity of conditions, and it's a shame, I think, for the tournament. And it's, whilst it does make things more unpredictable because it means that you're not just seeing teams win at home, lose away, it's slightly creating a more homogenous spectacle, which I just think is a shame, given that there's 10 venues here, or there's more than 10 venues. There's 10 home venues as the default, and they aren't necessarily getting the most out of them because there does seem to be this edict from the powers that be that we just need to see runs. And
Yeah,
I
just
don't
from
mind that, but I also want to see a 140 plays 150 every couple of days.
which is what we see at global tournaments, and it's often remarked upon, isn't it? We did the ICC tournament in America and the Caribbean last year, and yeah, the gluttony of 200 plus in most games does rather detract from the novelty of it, doesn't it? When you get T20 matches where it's 6 or 7 and over, and bowling has more of a role to play. So that is somewhat of a shame. Although in saying that, I also understand that dingers equals commercial return. The more sixes, the better. Gideon wrote a fun piece a couple of weeks ago about this, saying that the highlights package that he consumed was all the wickets and all of the sixes and fours, I think he said, and something like 87% of the runs came in boundaries anyway. So you're basically getting all of the highlights literally. Only 13% of the runs you aren't seeing in a brief highlights cut, which is the way of the modern T20 domestic game, certainly when it comes to the IPL. 2 balls to go, Ben.
3 balls to go. I'm flagging. The impact player killed Washington Sundar, but he is back. That's my little takeaway. I've been a huge fan of Washington Sundar for years, since he was back at RCB. I know a friend of the podcast, Tim Wigmore, did an interview with him, I think maybe like 2018. It was a long old time ago. He's a really intelligent cricketer, bowls with the new ball as a spinner, lefty hitter through the middle. He's a really talented batter, and a talented all-round cricketer, but he can't play in the IPL because he is an all-rounder, and that thing is devalued since the impact player came in. Since the
Right,
introduction of
yeah.
that rule in 2022, Washington has played 23 games for India. He's only played 19 games in the IPL. He has become a guy who is a T20 international specialist because the rules imposed on his domestic side are not adherent to
Well,
him being available. So
so to
he
be
played
clear,
for,
for those who aren't following this as closely as you are, that means that
yeah,
12
go for
into
it.
11, 12 into 11 effectively means the fifth bowler is no longer necessarily you can mix and match in such a way that you don't need that classic batter who can get 4 overs out, or a combination of batters who can get 4 overs out. That's no longer a necessity, owing to the fact that you can sub a player out at your behest.
Exactly. And so you end up in this situation where, above all else, what you want are specialists. And there is always room for an all rounder, for a guy who is too skilled. Um, but Gujarat Titans, who he plays for now, are blessed with a couple of all-rounders, and they are able to balance the side without him. However, he comes in the other night. He plays against Sunrisers, the side who barely picked him for the last mega auction cycle, the side who
Mm.
eschewed him because of the rule. He makes 29. He makes a 49 off 29. He looks beautiful with the bat. He doesn't bowl because, again, even with all this, this opportunity to actually be in the side, they don't need him. And I just thought it was a nice highlighting, to be honest, of the kind of downsides of the new rule. There's been a lot of talk
Mm.
of
Mm.
this, everyone gets to stretch their legs. We're creating Abhishek Sharma, we're creating Tilak Varma, we're creating Ishan Kishan, all these guys who, this ultra intent. That's great. However, the downside is that these guys who are clever and skillful, but with a broader base of skills, they are falling by the wayside a little bit. And it'll be interesting if the rules don't trickle into international cricket, how India do adapt to that, because suddenly the guy that's playing for them as their one of their key all rounders in international cricket doesn't play in the IPL, which, as we all know, drink the Kool Aid is the pinnacle.
The expectation last year at the T20 World Cup is that they might make a late adjustment and bring in the impact sub for that, and they didn't. Inside T20 circles, is there a realistic expectation that ICC events, or indeed T20 internationals, full stop, will end up with the formula that we have in the IPL, or is there a view that, well, this is a bit of a novelty and we can enjoy this for what it is, and the hyperinflation of scores that will come in turn, and then we revert to a T20 more in line with what we're conditioned to when countries are playing each other?
I think there is an understanding within Indian cricket and within the powers that be there that there are commercial realities at play in the
Yeah.
IPL, and that whilst it is a sporting competition and it is a spectacle based around teams being evenly balanced and all this kind of stuff, there are mechanisms in place to make sure that the sporting side of things aren't neglected. The
Mm.
commercial realities do press hard, and in ICC events that is still the case, but not necessarily in terms of the playing conditions. It's not necessarily about making sure that MS Dhoni can play even though he can't field or whatever. It's not necessarily the same as Rohit Sharma coming as an impact player and getting out for a duck and then having no involvement in the rest of the game. There's not quite the same need to force the stars into the spectacle,
Right.
because India are the star themselves. So I don't think there'll be a huge uh, desperation to get that rule into international cricket, as far as I know. If I did know, I'd also keep it a secret because it's important.
Sixth and final ball of your set today, Ben Jones. What's going on?
It actually kind of speaks to what I've just said, really, which is that I think the Indian Premier League is more Indian than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've seen a higher percentage of runs in this tournament from Indian batsmen than in any other previous tournament. We've seen teams regularly and quite deliberately playing with three overseas. So you're allowed to play four, even with the impact rule. It's still 4 out of 12 that you're allowed to pick. Gujarat Titans and Delhi Capitals have both regularly been playing with three and don't seem that bothered by it. I think partly that's due to some slightly wonky squad construction. Teams have got themselves a bit in a mess. They've spent a lot of money on their first 11. You look at the amount of money that's been spent on guys like Shreyas Iyer, Venkatesh Iyer. It's not just Ayers, but a lot of money on key Indians. It's not left them with much money for the bench. So when overseas players like Faf du Plessis, aging stars, are injured, there's not necessarily the bench strength from the overseas to replace them, and they're happy as a result to go with those domestics. But it's quite interesting. RCB made 220 at the 1KD the other day, and their overseas batters scored 5 runs. Punjab chased down a considerable score the other day, and no overseas player had batted. Like, we are
Mm.
talking about, this all speaks to this kind of swelling confidence in Indian cricket that they have just got two, three teams, certainly batting lineups that could compete in international cricket, and there is this confidence that is growing. And the record of these guys in this tournament so far is kind of, it's very much speaking to that and agreeing with it. I'm not sure if it's necessarily going to continue, but in early days in the tournament where there has been maybe less pressure, we spoke about how consistent teams have been last week, how even things have been. I think there's been this sense of the domestic stars who are outside of the Indian team have really arrived in fantastic shape, a bit like Shreyas Iyer, and they have wanted to impress. Whether that continues for the next 15 and a half weeks of the IPL is another question altogether. But in the meantime, their reliance on the stardust of the overseas players, it has probably never been less.
Brilliant, Ben. Your analysis always appreciated. Delhi Capitals, top of the pops with 3 wins from 3. Then Gujarat, RCB, and Punjab Kings in the top 4 final spots as it stands. But it's a long, long, long tournament. We're not even a quarter of the way into it, which means that, Ben, you will join us week after week on our Whamageddon IPL. You watched it because we didn't segment to round out each episode of the final week. Great to have you with us.
Cheers, Colin.
Okay, that'll be the end of our episode today as well. Thank you for persisting with my sketchy voice. That will improve through the week. There will be an interview with our county series will continue, I should say, with an interview that'll come out on Thursday, then story time on the weekend, and on it will go. Thank you to our patrons, patreon.com/the final word for making what we do possible, to Morris Blackburn Lawyers, to Odin Mortgages and Tax, our commercial partners on the show as well. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your cricket. We'll catch up soon.